Polkadot is still struggling, pretty much like any crypto out there right now. I'm looking at the daily chart and you can see we're still struggling down here toward lower lows. We've entered this range of 5.75 to 6.3, which as you can see is basically a range between a range. This is the range we were at earlier and the market kept bouncing into and back out of. What's this, 6.3 to 6.6. You can see the market entered and bounced back out, entered, was bought out, tapped, went up, etc. But over the last 2 to 3 days, we've definitely fallen through. Now we have re-entered, but we have fallen through this level of support. And the reason this is a range 5.7 is because we went up through that area so quickly. So this was support. You can definitely tell this area here was support, and we're kind of in between the two. So that's the reason it's a level of support right now, and it has held, okay? So there's kind of a top here that we don't want to fall into, and but I can't guarantee we won't. Across the crypto market, we are experiencing downward pressure. Polkadot is experiencing very much its own pressure from a high of roughly, what's that, 9.5 down to 6.3. Here's a high, a low. Lower high, lower low. Lower high, lower low. Classic definition of a downtrend. You can see it very clearly just with this blue line right here. And just in case you're curious, no, Polkadot is not the only one going through this. Pretty much it's across crypto. ADA, Ethereum, Doge, downward channel here. Just did a video on VET, downward channel. We'll do one on Solana later today, downward channel. We are just struggling with downward pressure in crypto, and it's caused by Bitcoin, okay? You can even see it. Like, look at the fall, the little bounce with the wick finishing on a green day, and then an even day right here. Well, let's see what happened. The fall, the bounce down to the wick with a green day, and kind of a break-even day right here. It's basically literally following Bitcoin. So to figure out what DOT may do, we need to look at what is Bitcoin going to do. Bitcoin is in its own range. 38,000 to 40,000 is where it's at right now. Got to a level of about 38,500 and then bounced back over 40,000 for a bit. We're resting under 40,000 slightly right now. I cannot predict the market and say what levels we're going to hit at which days. Okay, I can't say it's going to go here and then the next day here and then the next day here and the next day here. I can't say that, but I do have some theories. We may get a bounce here. Okay, could happen. I don't think we'll get above this trend line. I think even if we get close to this trend line, we'll bounce back down. We may bounce further. I do think over the next couple of weeks to next couple of months, we're going to enter this 34 to 38,000 range. It just appears that is what's going to happen. Even if we bounced here and bounced here, I would still call that a lower low. Or excuse me, a lower high, because I got a high here, a low, a lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. Especially if it doesn't get above 42,000, you could easily call that a lower high if it bounces and it goes back down. So here's my theory for Bitcoin. I think we'll hit 36,000 before we hit 46,000. I'm pretty certain of that. And I could almost tell you, it just depends on how deep into this we go. I can't guarantee you any of it. I can't guarantee you any of it, but I'm less confident about this prediction that we're going to hit 35,000 before we hit 45,000. But that still would not surprise me. It would not surprise me to hit 35,000 before 45,000. The first indication of a change in Bitcoin attitude is it's got to get back up into this rising channel and start making higher highs. That is, get higher than 40 this high and get higher than this high. And that would basically put us into that channel. I don't think we're going to see that anytime soon. I just don't, okay? Again, maybe a bounce and then down. So what does that mean for DOT? Well, the first steps to any kind of turnaround for DOT is we've also got to do what Bitcoin has to do. We have to break a channel. We have to break above this trend line that has been created by DOT. You've seen it on ADA, so forth and so on. Just showed you that, but you can see it's across many coins. You've got to get above here. Do not be surprised if we wiggle around, eventually pop up here to the bottom of this 7.3, kind of this support level, which turned into resistance. Now it's above us, and we bounced off this trend line. And I don't know that we'll go much further down here, but bounce off the trend line. I don't think we'll get above this trend line first chance, is what I'm trying to get at. So don't be surprised if we bounce around here over the next couple weeks, bounce up and then go back down. And as long as we're under this downtrend, you don't have any idea how far we can go. Okay. If Bitcoin gets below 38,000, I think we'll get below 5.7. If Bitcoin gets down into 35 and 36,000, I think we'll get down to the 5 level. All right. So whether we'll do that over the next week, next 2 weeks, whether we'll get a relief bounce and it takes a few weeks to get down, I can't say. Don't know the timing. No one does. But I do think we are going to be experiencing lower lows. I hate to use the word soon, but we're going to be experiencing lower lows before we're going to get higher highs. I can pretty much guarantee that. So the same thing in DOT has to happen. We've got to get above this trend line. And until we get above 7.6, there's really no launching pad for us to make higher highs. And that's going to take time. It took a month to build this falling structure, right? It's going to take probably that long, if not longer, depends on how far we go, to start building a rising structure. And that's if we're going to rise rather quickly, because this is a pretty precipitous fall. I mean, this is from 9.5 to 6.3. That's about a 30% loss in a financial instrument in a month. That's a pretty big loss. Crypto can go up 30% that quickly. It did. Will it do it again? I don't know. And honestly, I don't know if we want it to, right? Because it did here. And while we haven't given up all of our gains, we're giving back some of it. I'd actually like to see a more steady climb, right? More than that to that. But nobody is certainly not listening to my preferences on how crypto should move. And so we can only go on what we see. Okay, that's my update on DOT. I will keep you updated on Polkadot and other crypto coins out there. Be sure to subscribe if you want to keep up with the movements in crypto. All right, y'all be careful out there and trade safely.